Welcome to the Blue Cafe. We bring you stories of faith, love, and devotion. Yeah, just kidding, please help us grow by hitting that like button. Now on to the story. Girlfriend was raped, unless. This morning all I, 26M, knew is that basically my girlfriend, 25F, woke up naked in some stranger's house with no memory of the last 8 hours and she thought she was drugged. She seemed extremely traumatized about what happened. Since then some new info has come to light, and I'm not sure how to reconcile everything. Essentially I tried to get her to come home with me a couple times over the span of about an hour, and after the daylight savings rolled back I left around 1:10, 2:10 without DST, as I was really tired and she was insistent on staying. She found a group of friends she hadn't seen in a while and decided to hang out with them, and they seemed trustworthy and nice and said they'd make sure she was safe. After I left, she said she couldn't remember anything about 10 to 20 minutes after I left until 8 o'clock this morning. According to the friends in that friend group she hung out with though, what they say happened is that they were very insistent on trying to get her to come with them back to their Airbnb where she'd be safe, but she really wanted to go home with and hang out with this one random dude. Despite them pleading with her not to go, she decided to anyway, according to that friend group. She also forgot her purse at this person's house and I left a note on his door with my number so I could try and get it back. He eventually called me and we talked, and what he said happened is pretty comparable to what the friend group said happened as she left with him. He also said that she seemed fairly sober and they talked for multiple hours about things, and the things he mentioned were definitely things she'd talk about, like specific topics about her interests, and that they watched a few episodes of a show that her and I have been watching, so that seemed to add some validity to what he was saying, and then he said eventually she started kissing him and gave him a blowjob, and then he went down on her. He also said he was nervous and asked if the police would be involved because he was getting Instagram DMs about taking advantage of a drunk girl, but I have no idea who would do that. As far as I'm aware he's a complete stranger, so I don't know who would know what happened. Talked with my GF about this and she said that she's upset that I'm believing the person who abused her over her, but she still has no memory of what happened, and a lot of what he said is things that he wouldn't really otherwise know without it being somewhat true. Also that it's really out of character for her, and it is. Like I left for 30 minutes to get my car as I parked fairly far away and didn't want to pay for an Uber home, and when I came back she was telling some dude not to touch her since she has a boyfriend. I don't really know what would have changed in the 20 minutes after I left. In terms of what the guy said, since he was so specific and accurate in terms of the pre-sex stuff, it feels like it's honest, but then maybe he lied about the sex stuff. But if she was roofied or something, wouldn't she not be coherent and be able to talk with him for several hours? Am I crazy for thinking it's weird for this dude to roofie her, and then talk with her for several hours, watch a show and then rape her? I also woke up around 4:30 and saw she wasn't back and called her, and when I called her she said she was fine and safe and having a good time and not to worry. I just don't really know what to think. I love her so much. Skeptical. You kind of glossed over the fact that you called her at 4:30 and she said she was good. Can you confirm with the friend group when she left them to go with the guy? If the timelines are saying she was at the house at that point and she answered and said all was good, then that's not a good look. You need to put your foot down and force her to go get tested for the presence of drugs. If she refuses or gives an excuse, then there is your answer. You can't be expected to blindly accept what she is saying and then be given a different, arguably more plausible, account of the night and her to just respond with "you need to believe me." If the drug test comes back negative, then you got yourself a cheater, and the worst kind too, the kind that baselessly accuses people of rape when they cheat. I don't disagree with the rest of this, but I was drugged last year and went to the ER to have a kit done and be tested. They told me several times, if your test comes back negative for what we're testing for, that does not mean you weren't drugged. The nurse explained that they can't possibly test for every single substance ever known to man, and what's out on the streets changes constantly. They of course still test for several substances still, but she didn't want me to go home and think I must just be crazy if I'd been assaulted. Also, in this case many substances would be out of this girl's system altogether by now anyway, which was also a real possibility in my case last year. Again, the rest does sound weird, I just don't want people thinking this is how the system works. Just wanted to add to your comment, I was drugged at a bar once years ago. Thankfully I was there with my, now ex-husband who took me home. To him I seemed completely coherent in my speech and actions. The next day I had zero recollection of the night before. None. I did wake up with one of the absolute worst hangover feelings in my life. I think the worst migraine crossed with the worst hangover. It hurt to open my eyes. I honestly drank like half a drink. He told me the next day that the things I said to him the night before were so out of character for me he thought I had to have drank more or done something else. But what had thrown him for a loop was that I didn't seem drunk. Found out weeks later from a friend that the guy sitting near us had tried to carry her out of the same bar one night when people assumed she was drunk. Thank God for the bouncer in her situation. I was tested for several substances and tested positive for GHB. She was at this person's house at 4:30. I think it's too late to do a test, those drugs leave the system pretty quickly and she's taken a shower. She left her friend's group to go to some random dude's house. Isn't that the real problem for you? Or are you cool with that? That's the main problem I have. Yeah, this happened a few weeks ago too, except slightly different situation, like 5 random people that didn't know each other ended up in an Uber together since there was an Uber shortage at bar closing. I went and got her at 4 AM and found a bunch of random people passed on the couch and her drinking some tequila chatting with the owner of the house who was trying to go to bed, but all of her friends ditched her that time to go hook up with people. The thing is she says that there's no way she would have done that, insist on going home with a random person, and that the friend group must have abandoned her. I think she got into a pretty big argument with one of them and blamed them for letting her leave with the guy or something. Update, my 26M girlfriend, 25F, was raped, unless original. TLDR, we broke up. Honestly, this update is gonna be a bit weird, mostly because it's not really related to the original situation at all. Ultimately I, 26M, chose to believe her, 25F, and support her. On Wednesday I was going through some of our old photos we had sent each other, and found a picture she had sent me of her ex reaching out to her about a year and a half ago. She essentially was complaining about it and sent him a message that she didn't want to talk to him anymore. The weird thing was she has this gay friend with the same first name. I had asked her about it and she said they're 2 different people, but what was interesting was that the Instagram handle of her ex was the same as her gay friend. I called her and asked her about it, and she said that they have the same first name and last initial, and just kinda brushed off the Instagram handles being the same. What was weird is that I refreshed his page and his handle was suddenly different. I feel like I was going crazy since I looked at my view history and it didn't have his old handle anywhere. I looked up his Facebook and went through some old photos and there were photos of them being coupley. I don't really know how to describe it, but you know what I mean. Anyway, again I thought this was incredibly weird but tried to just be okay with it, since even though it seemed weird I trusted her, or at least really wanted to. She hung out with him at a bar to watch a basketball game on Wednesday night, and then she texted me so's and said he was being super mean to her and that she wanted me to come over and get her. So I go over there, very briefly meet him. Like when I get there he gives me this really awkward handshake, says can I get a hug for the road to her, and then leaves. At this point she's being super self-destructive, saying she wants to black out drinking. Some random dudes offer for her to do coke and she wants to do it but I talk her out of it, etc. Either way I stay with her to make sure she stays safe, and eventually we close down the bar at 2 AM. After this she says I need to make up with him, the gay friend, so she drives over there and I follow her to make sure she's okay, and she goes into his house or whatever to talk it out, and at this point I go home. I don't really know why, but last night I decided that I just felt really weird and wanted to see if there was anything weird going on, so I went through her phone. I took a few screenshots of what I found and sent them to myself. I kinda stopped after going back a few days. I kinda wish I went further back. I don't know what I was expecting, but I confronted her about it, and she denied everything. The text on Wednesday at 11:34 p.m. would have been somewhat shortly after I arrived, and she did go to the bathroom a few times, so I assume she was texting him in there. But she still insisted that they're two different people. The cuddling thing she explained as I'm not allowed to cuddle my best friend? And that they had talked about moving in together as friends. The Facebook photos as yeah, I've known him for a long time. I also found some random person that just started texting her a couple days ago, I assume because she gave him her number, and he was being kinda flirty and they were arranging to meet up for drinks. And we had this trip planned this weekend, and she said, oh, my co-workers and I are going on 20 trip. When I asked her about that, she said that guys don't want to be friends with her if she has a boyfriend. Honestly, I don't know. I hate that I feel like I'm the crazy one and questioning everything, like I don't know if I did the right thing, like maybe I read too much into things. I feel bad that I might have made a mistake and confronted her about something that could have some weird explanation. I just don't really know what's going on anymore. Either way, we broke up from that discussion. She wanted to break up because I don't trust her and snooping through her phone is not okay, and in the end I just didn't trust her. I hate this, I hate being alone, and I really feel like I can't do better, because I haven't been able to do better in the past. I hate not knowing if I'm crazy. Dude, it is obvious she is a serial cheater. Never speak to her again. She said that guys don't want to be friends with her if she has a boyfriend, smiley face. That's like the moment in a horror film when we're screaming at the dude to run. Meanwhile they stand there and get hit by a face hugger. There should be a dolly zoom on his face as he hears the words. We hope that by sharing these stories with interested folks like you, we can help people recognize the signs of a relationship in trouble, and avoid so many of these heartbreaking situations yourselves. Have a good day or night, wherever you are.